Reggae tested. Hi, how are you guys? Yeah, see something more is on the house.
Oh, hi guys, how are you? Are you fine? I'm alright too.
Hey, yo, fam, what's up? My name is Kevin. Welcome to Kevin News. So I'm here with Innocent Chauke, Braga.
Ita,
Inside
I'm alright, how are you guys?
Sure. So we're here to talk about politics, SMU politics, as some of you might have guessed. I'm here with the Vice President of SMU. Former president of SMU. So, okay, Mr. Chauke, the first question, when I was comparing the question, it honestly sounded like an ignorant question. What's the use of politics? Because we know politics is about representing people against, discrimination, against being mistreated. So, specifically, what's the use of student politics?
Yeah. No, thanks Kevin, and of course thanks for featuring me in your show.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you have captured. I think you have grasp of the fundamentals of what is the use of student politics. It's largely a representation. I think the only part that we may have to fix is the representation against something. The representation in itself basically means there's a group of people that cannot in their collective represent themselves. It's not against anything, but it's to represent their views in completion.
A voice for the voiceless.
Correct. Those that know characterize it as a say maybe vanguardism, to say in a group of or in a collective of people, you need a representation, and that representation should come from people that are existing within that particular space or within that particular collective. And I think the purpose of representation, or the purpose of student politics, is to represent the views of everyone that is within that particular collective group.
So now there's a language that is unique in politics. Can you explain why the language? Like, why can't you use simple English?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea why people tend to confuse things. Very simple things. But I think the idea is to get the message across. Sometimes it's to confuse the constituencies, give them a response vis-a-vis an answer to a question. But the idea is to get the message across.
I'll get the message across sometimes to confuse. It's a tactic.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that is the case.
Okay, so since you, from your answer about the importance of politics, it's about representation, and I understand that every politician is looking to represent the students to put them in a better situation with their problems or their situations that they might find themselves in. So now, why is there a difference between politicians and politics? Like, why do we have oppositions when we are all talking about representing people?
The question is to ask, why do we have opposition, or what is the difference between an activist and a politician?
No, we are going to come to that. Why do we have oppositions?
Yeah, I think the idea, remember, we said that the main purpose of having student politics or student activism existing within a space of higher education is so that there's a representation. The reason there's supposed to be opposition is because you're competing on the basis of who can represent the students better, who has a better grasp of the concerns of students or the views of students in their immensity. You see?
Yeah.
It's to say who has a better, back in the days, I would imagine that there was something called effective opposition, where people are competing on the basis of ideas of who has the better interest of students. The existence of opposition is not to vilify each other or anything along those lines. It's to see who can better compete the space of representation, and that is why we need opposition. To hold accountable those that are currently at the helms of governments, to say, are you really representing students, or you're pursuing your own personal selfish interests?
Or in simple terms, you could say to put each other in check. Like,
Correct.
are you really doing your job? Because I think I can if you fail it.
Correct. I can do better.
Yeah.
I can represent students better.
Okay.
You're correct.
So one thing that's common within politics and politicians and activists, the alcohol consumption. What's up with that? Like, why?
Yeah, I would imagine that it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Kavin. It's not a healthy coping mechanism. I discourage it unequivocally in unequivocal terms.
Yeah.
It's a mechanism which I believe student activists, particularly because of the mere fact that they are largely student activists are overwhelmed by their responsibility of representation.
Also, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, with the responsibility of representation comes a serious burden, of having to juggle. Remember, in the first instance, we came here to pursue our own academic responsibilities. We have our own dedicated academic responsibilities, but with the duty of representation comes a serious overload in terms of that particular responsibility. And I would imagine that comrades largely use alcohol, ethanol to cope.
So yeah, speaking of, it's a coping mechanism for that burden that comes with the representation.
You're correct.
So would you say that burden sometimes drives politicians to mental illness?
Yeah, it's there, it exists. I so wish that we could pay too much attention to it, so much attention to it like we do with the allegations of corruption. I wish we could pay so much attention. There's really a serious risk there of losing yourself. It's there, it's real. I know it, take it from me. It's there. There are nights you won't sleep because you're overthinking. There's always something happening, you know that.
Yeah.
There's always something
become
happening.
unstable.
If you're sleeping, something, a rest can just start baby. In summer you don't even sleep because just an imagination of rain. It's going to give you a sleepless night. So those things are there. These people do not sleep. These people overthink. These people are pressed on every corner. Whether you do right or you do wrong, you are a subject of critique, which I think you should chest, of course, as a student activist. But those things come with a connotation that presses so hard against your psyche as a human being.
So can you tell us the difference between an activist and a politician?
Yeah, a politician is largely an activist, but an activist is you cannot regard an activist a politician if you are to be strict in terms of the usage of the terms. I see more often than not we use the terms interchangeably. We don't have politicians within the space of student activism or within the space of student politics. We have activism because a politician, by definition, is someone who pursues politics professionally.
So we have to have some kind of qualification.
Professionally, I don't think it has a prerequisite of a qualification, but it must be done within a professional framework. But an activist is I cannot say just, but it's a person who holds sincere certain social views, social and political views for that matter. A person who is active, say, politically within that particular space.
So we can say a politician is professional, like you said, and an activist is more personal.
You're correct. You're very correct. You have captured it correct.
Okay. So let's talk about victimizations to student politicians. Do those things really exist, or it's just, I don't know, excuses?
The imagination that it may be an excuse is a serious fallacy and far-fetched and very ignorant. It's not alive to the realities of student representation, because in student representation, remember, you're putting yourself in a space. I'm not saying I've suffered their victimization, nor am I saying I've never suffered their victimization. but you're putting yourself in a very controversial space. Usually what students want is quite opposed to what, say, maybe a management structure of a particular organization wants. You see? So you are putting yourself in that space where you must to represent only means COVID says this. Chauke must go and say what COVID is saying, or maybe in a more persuasive manner. And when you are pressing those buttons and you are persuading whoever, these people that are in the echelons of power, they are going to try by all means to put across a point that no.
They're going to show you who's powerful, who has power.
It's there. It's a reality. It's a reality. Some of these things that you are honestly antagonizing people's personal interests. You see, when students say go and oppose this thing because it's not beneficial to the community in its immensity. It's only beneficial to individuals. When you go, you're putting yourself in that space of these students. Do you think that person or those people are going to let you be? I don't think it's possible. You're on a daily basis arguing with people on the basis of how they treat the students within the academic space in class. Some people just don't mind to say whatever and everything that comes to their mind. Anything and everything, they just say. Students experience, it's a reality that students in themselves, outside activism, are a subject of victimization, and you must go and represent the students now as a unit, as an individual. So yeah, it's there, it exists.
So as a student politician, do you have any advice as to how people with ambitions of becoming politicians should navigate?
Yeah, people must read, but above all, an overriding principle, COVID, in order for one to be an activist, or in order for one to correctly represent the interests of other people, it must be guided by love and passion to represent people. Okay. You must have, if there's anything that I can tell somebody who is interested in student activism, it's to say they must love their constituencies. They must do it with love. Something that you love, you won't sell out. Let's say maybe, for example, something that you love, you won't compromise for your own personal ambitions. Because you are doing it out of love. So yeah,
based on love, you have to love what you are doing.
That is the overriding principle. Love people, love your work.
Okay, so if someone, maybe I have love, right? But now I'm afraid of victimization. Do you have any advice for me to avoid victimization while representing the students adequately?
It's just unfortunate, Kavit. The victimization is an unavoidable eventuality that every student activist that sincerely displays love is going to go through. It's an unavoidable. It's something that you undertake knowing very well that if I am going to get into student activism, it's either I'm going to choose to love students or I'm going to choose to protect myself. If you are going to do it out of love for students and you are not willing to make that particular compromise when it comes to students, you are going to be a subject of victimization.
So essentially you're saying, as a student politician, you must accept sacrificing yourself.
You are correct. That is the overriding principle. Out of love, you will be able to compromise yourself for the well-being of everyone. Yeah, it's not like you're being forced into that space. You are voluntarily choosing to say, I am going to be able to volunteer my own compromise than to compromise the people that I said I am available to represent. It's how it works.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Taking advantage of students is an activity known to be done by politicians. Is it true? Is it a myth, or is it true? Do politicians find themselves taking advantage of students, or is it just rumors?
Yeah, I would imagine that it's if students say it's there, it's because they have seen it. So yeah, I would believe it's true. We enter into the space of governance. Let's be honest with each other, Kavit. Let's not beat about the bush. The interest of getting into student governance in this day and age is no longer motivated by love for representation. It's largely motivated by material gain and
Yeah.
selfish ambitions.
Social status.
Yeah, I no longer become president of the SRC because I have a zeal and interest to represent students, but because I want to, I'm the SRC president. I have, but
Yeah.
I think you get
I
it.
get you. I get you. So since we talked about as a politician, you are essentially sacrificing yourself. So now I want to talk about the priorities. For you to go to an institution, you are going there to better your future, I would say, to build your future. But when you get into that institution, you start sacrificing yourself. Wouldn't you say that you are compromising your priorities there?
Yeah. You know, when we left home, all of us our imagination was that we're coming here to get our degrees, to study, to pass, get our degrees, and leave the system as soon as we can. Yeah, but I remember this life thing. Time and again, you are met with spaces that you must draw lessons from. You know, a student politics space is a space that if you willingly participate in, the idea is that you must gain experience out of it. You must gain there are a number of life lessons you will learn out of that space. Outside learning politics themselves, you are going to learn quite a number of things that pertain to life and how life should be structured. How you're supposed to help people, how you're supposed to, your general conduct as a person. You know, it's going to teach you a lot of things. So yes, priorities sometimes are going to be messed up. You're correct. They're going to be messed up every now and then. And all you need to do is to strike that particular delicate balance between your academic life and your student governance life. Definitely compromises are going to be made sometimes.
Yeah.
You will be faced with a meeting. I will give you an example, Kavit, where I'm talking. You have a test. For example, you have a test that you're supposed to write on a particular day that you're supposed to go and represent students that are excluded. You have decided that you have willingly volunteered yourself to represent students.
Yeah.
So means must be made for you to see how you can't compromise the lives of 200 students that are now found wanting outside the system. It's very cold out there. You must make means to provide for the
So,
rest of yours.
so yeah, from your answer, we can say it's not really compromising priorities, but it's an evolution of priorities. I'll call it there.
Correct. There must be that particular delicate balance that is struck between new developing priorities and the ones that you came here solidly holding. But yeah.
So the relationship between, every politician that I've met always talks about the mother body. The relationship, I understand that the mother body is like the national party of that structure.
You're correct.
So I want to know the relationship between the mother body and the political structure within an institution. Does the structure get orders or instructions from the mother body, or does it move on its own? If it does, how do they relate?
Yeah, ordinarily speaking, in organizations, so far as I have experienced this organization, they don't really filter down these things called orders. The relationship between mother bodies and they are called substructures when they are at university level. They are substructures of the mother body. The relationship that exists between these two structures, number one, it's at the level of ideology, what they believe in. It's at the level of ideology. Basically, the ideology, the ideological beliefs of the organization at its mother body level, it's directly connected to what you are supposed to believe in at the ground level. If the mother body is preaching communism, you cannot come to a student government. If it's preaching vanguardism, representation of a strata or a class in a community through people that are belonging to that particular class. If mother body is preaching that, you cannot come now at the level of student representation and speak neoliberalism. You must speak directly to what it speaks to. But they always have oversight. If things arise within the organizations that cannot be resolved by the mechanisms that are within the constitution of that substructure, then the matter, of course, it can be elevated to mother body. Yeah.
Also, the mother body is not really here to give orders, but it's here to regulate.
It's not operational at all. It's not operational. It does not operate within that particular. Well, of course, there are organizations that do not even have a mother body at all. They enjoy that level of autonomy. But so far as my experience is concerned with student governments, that particular autonomy is limited. You're limited to what you can or cannot do. I will tell you an example. If we wake up tomorrow and I'm the SRC president and they say Chauke has stolen 4 million from the office, the mother body can descend any day and say no, Chauke cannot now represent students within the banner of our organization that does not advocate for theft and fraud.
Oh, so you'd say the mother body is there to lay a pavement for substructures to travel through.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much for well spoken. I must say, first, like before we go anywhere, this man is well spoken. So yeah, thank you for thank you for coming through. And yes, so do you have anything that you want to plug, maybe anything that you want to promote?
No, I don't think there's anything. The only thing that I would like to be thankful for is this opportunity to engage with you. I think it's been some time since I had that particular engagement about issues of student governance. I'm going to be honest with you, Kavit, in my closing remarks, but if we are to keep it at 100, student governance is degenerating and deteriorating with time. I'm going to make a specific reference to SMU. You know, we are no longer culturing. We are no longer culturing seasoned cadres. Let me put it like that. We are culturing sloganeers, you know. We are culturing we are no longer culturing members of organizations, but members of members. You know, you are no longer a member of the organization that we belong to. You and I are now a member of Chauke. And with that comes a problem, because Chauke is just a human being.
It's individual based more than it is structurally based.
Correct. Chauke is a human being. He's a subject of mistakes and errors in life. Chauke can make bad ideologies that are written within it. If they are a mistake, it's mistakes that you have subscribed to as an individual. They are supposed to hold you constantly accountable. I'm saying we're at a state where at SMU, you know, in fact, toxicity is a political credential. If I'm so toxic to even undermine everyone that I interact with, we regard it as a political credential. To say, do you know Chauke? Chauke is very, very good. You know, if they have degenerated, I think we need to remember we're a university that does not offer humanities. Therefore, we do not have studies like your political sciences. We only do politics as an extramural activity. It does not. So I think we need to, if there is interest, you know, if you are not forced into these things. If you know you have interest of representing students and largely for reasons that as you are supposed to pursue in representing students, I think people must reinvest themselves in redefining student governance, you know, for what it truly is. At the center of what the student government truly is representation.
So I think the root problem of the problem that you are raising is the individuals, like the individual that wants to be worshipped. I think those are the root problems. We can attend them before we channel people into believing in structural behaviors.
Yeah, well, it's there. It's there. It's a reality that we cannot shy away from. We have populists in the space of student governments. People that will just say anything for the sake of it. If there's a room full of people,
it's a popularity contest more than it's a representation.
Yeah, it's no longer a battle of. It's no longer an intellectual marathon, David, where people are now competing on the basis of who possess better ideas.
I think you should be careful. It's no longer an intellectual marathon. What is it then?
Yeah, it's now a popularity contest. Who can collapse meetings better?
Oh, so now
Who can insult people better? Those things are not student representation. Trust me. When you go and sit inside in a forum, David, where you are supposed to interact with people in representing students, they want to get them the material that comes out of your views. They don't want to hear that you are a clown. I'm going to be as short as a miniskirt. Those things are slogans. They don't mean anything when you're sitting in a forum of representation.
It's more about who sounds more funny.
Correct.
Who's more entertaining.
You must be intellectually competitive. You get me?
Yeah.
So
Okay, so Fab, if you want to get into politics, it's less about the jokes and more about representing the people for what the people want. So, yeah. This was a nice interview. What's up? Yo!